My turn?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Joni. I want to make a few things clear. This board believes Tom Ross has been a wonderful president. Fantastic work ethic, perfect integrity, worked well with our board, and speaking for myself, I have some great excitement about working with him for a minimum of a year and maybe longer. I wanted to clear something up that I saw from some article with a quote attributed to a member of the board, which I'm disappointed in, and that has, age had absolutely nothing to do with this. Full stop. President Ross has our complete confidence in managing an incredibly complicated system in an area, education, that is changing every day. And I look forward to the next year plus with my president.
Questions?
So, Mr. Fennebresque, you said age had nothing to do with it. There's a historical coincidence that his four preceding presidents all retired or left at 65. So, why?
It had nothing to do with the age.
Okay. So
Okay.
why?
I think the board felt like at the appropriate time there should be a transition to a new president, and we had a timeline that we were thinking along, and President Ross had a different timeline, and that's it.
So, with respect, I mean, that really doesn't answer the question. I mean, that you had a different timeline, what does that mean?
I think it answers. Look at the statement.
I
It
did.
answers the question.
Seems to be there was a difference of opinion, but you must have had a reason, but not saying what the reason was.
Figuring out, trying to figure out the time for this board to work with a new leader a year from now that may bring other assets to the job. Tom has been terrific.
The board had pressure from legislative leaders or others in the state?
Okay, there's one of me and 32 of us. I have had absolutely none. Okay?
You've heard of other board members?
No. I just know people that live in Raleigh talk about politics, but I don't live in Raleigh.
When you talk about other assets that the next president could bring, what are you referring to?
A lot of that is going to be determined by a search committee, and my experience with the search committee is zip. So our board of governors is going to, we've got to do a job description, and so it's all new. So I'm just going to wait until we have this organizational meeting of the search committee and try to explain it. Have 32 people weigh in on it, and then give the characteristics, traits.
Mr. Ross, you said there's a difference of timeline. What was your timeline?
Well, I don't know that I had finally determined what one was, but you know, I've been enjoying my work with the Board of Governors, and I think we've accomplished a lot. during the last 4 years, and when I came here, I made clear that I wasn't going to be ready to stop working at age 65, and I'm not ready to stop working at age 65. So I don't know how much longer, but I wasn't planning on leaving in the near future. So, but I think the board did have a different timeline, and I respect their right to and their prerogative to select the president. And so I think what we've done is develop a plan that will allow for a smooth transition and will allow the university to continue its work, and that has to be the most important thing. We have to put the university first, and I know the board believes that, and I certainly do.
Do you believe that the Chapel Hill academic athlete scandal attributed to this in any kind of way?
Let me answer that. Absolutely not. In fact, I would suggest to you that President Ross has handled that situation, managed that situation, led that situation in an exemplary fashion. And I've been with him all the way.
Can I please ask a question to follow up on Emery? If he's done such a great job of managing this and he's such a wonderful president, and we don't even have a job description or an asset that we're looking for yet, what's the hurry? Why do this now?
It's a conversation about succession planning, transition. And as you can see from the document, I don't know if you have it now, but
I do.
Okay. It's 12 more months of this leadership and maybe more. There's no magic to the time.
President Ross, did anybody on the board give you a reason other than what's stated?
We've had a lot of discussions about this, and I think it's the board's interest that they begin a transition, and we talked about how best to do that, and this is the agreement that we reached.
But no one expressed any dissatisfaction with the job you've done?
No, I've had no one express dissatisfaction.
Were there some on the board who didn't want this to happen?
I don't know the answer to that.
The agreement was approved, and the joint statement was approved by all but one person on the board. And we spent a long time talking with board members about it, and I think that whatever 30 seconds of the board is on the same page here.
Does this have anything to do with politics?
Absolutely not. To elaborate on that, it's my understanding of Board of Governors history that people have generally left their politics at the door if we're talking about politics, D's and R's. I have heard close to nothing about D's and R's since I've been on the board, which is, how long have I been on the board? I'm about in my 4th year, and it doesn't come up. I can't tell you the registration of my fellow board members. They haven't asked me mine. It doesn't come up.
President Ross, do you believe this had anything to do with politics?
I think the board is committed to this university, and I think what we've accomplished in the last 4 years has demonstrated that they are committed to the university, and I think they'll remain committed. And I think what's most important for people to remember today and every day is this is the oldest public university in America. It's one of the best public universities, if not the best public university in America. It is and has been a key driver for this state's success, for its economy, for its civic leadership, and all of us have a responsibility to protect the university. I think the board is doing, I'm sure, what they believe is right for the university, and I certainly am here today because I believe that the university is one of our greatest assets, and I've tried to give it all I can in my time so far, and I intend to continue to give it everything I can until my services are no longer required. So, you know, this is it's not an easy thing for me because, you know, I love it and I would love to be here forever. But, you know, I think, as I said earlier, the board has both the legal right and responsibility and the prerogative to think about transition and to move the university in a way that they think is best. And my job is to do the best job I can every day to be sure it's successful, and I'm going to keep doing that.
This board agrees with President Ross. This board takes very seriously its responsibility to the citizens of the state and the students, our 220,000 students. We take that very seriously, as does President Ross and our wonderful cadre of chancellors. So the board is fully engaged in doing its very best to make sure that people, to not only keep improving the best system in the country, but to make sure our elected leaders realize that this is, and our citizens, this is the most important asset we have for the prosperity for our citizens. And we are going to make that over, and President Ross and I have said that together and separately over and over and over again, and we're just going to yell even louder now.
Mr. Ross, looking back in your leadership, would you have done anything differently?
It's a complex question because I've done so many things that to think back over 4 years and say, would I have done anything differently? I suspect there are some things, but I can't think of one now. You know, I'm proud of the work I've done. I think that I'm proud of the work that the board's done. I think we've done a lot together, and it's been a, you know, this has been a period of transition for the university in a lot of different ways. There have been, you know, a dramatic change of board leadership. There's been a dramatic change in the state's leadership and policymakers. There have been, you know, about as bad an economy as we've had. So it's been a challenging time to lead, and I'm proud that we are here where we are today. I think we're still the best public university in America. I don't think we've lost ground, and to me that says a lot given what we've been through. So, you know, I can't point to a single thing that I would do different. I'm sure there may be a few things here and there. And
I can point to a bunch of things he's done well.
I'm very proud of what I've done and what I hope we'll continue to do. I mean, again, I think the chair points out, you know, I'm not out of here this afternoon. You know, I plan to be here working for the university and till at least next January, and I think we can get a lot done in the next year.
Mr. Ross, you were a big advocate for Elizabeth City State University when the possibility of its closure kind of came up last year during the session. Do you think, are you confident that there's still enough support for that university on the board, among general administration for that university as it is now?
You know, our new chancellor there is off to a great start, and she's working really hard. That institution has challenges, there's no question about that. And I think the board has made it clear they're excited about her and want to work with her. I am an advocate for that institution. I'm an advocate for all of our institutions because, you know, I think we forget, first, they have a really significant economic impact on our state, but they also have a real impact on their communities. You know, they're often the center of intellectual activity and cultural activity for their communities, and Elizabeth City State's no different. And for that part of the state, it's a very, very important institution, and we need to remember that. So I think we have our challenges still ahead with that great place, and we do with a lot of our institutions. It's not been an easy time, so we have work to do. But I'm still very high on our chancellor, very high on the institution, very high on its importance to our state, and I don't plan to change my view of that, and I don't think the board will either.
Mr. Bissett, here for a reason, evidently Mr. Fennebresque is kind of
I'm
in
the vice
seat.
chairman. I'm here to
Super.
hold his hand.
Well, he's been in the hot seat so far, and he's itemized a number of things that President Ross has been exemplary in. He's certainly not leaving because of his age, and neither one of them were really able to answer the question of whether politics had a factor in this.
That's not true. I said no.
You said no?
Yeah, really clearly. And it's a short word.
And I
as
would
far
say
as it
no
relates
as
to
well.
you. Okay.
I would say no as well.
Okay.
You know,
So-
in every organization, there comes a time when there's a leadership transition. And that's what's happening here. And it's, you know, Tom is not leaving tomorrow. He's going to be with us for at least a year. He's going to consult with us after that. So he's an extremely important part of this university, and he's our leader and will be our leader for some time to come. And on top of that, he's a dear friend of mine and a dear friend of most of the people on that board.
Correct.
I'd like to ask when the decision was reached and how it was communicated and how you all convened to decide this.
That's personnel, and I'm not going to talk about personnel. What's next?
President Rouse, when did you first learn that this might be in the works?
We've had conversations over the last several days. So I think and I'm sure the board has given this a lot of thought, and I think we've had some healthy conversations over the last few days, and I think we're at a point where Tuesday morning we'll celebrate Martin Luther King Day on Monday, and Tuesday morning I'll be here and my staff will be here, and we'll be back to work on behalf of the University of North Carolina.
With the support of 32 members of the Board of Governors.
Chairman, looking into the future, how soon will you start your official search process for his successor?
You know what? What is it, about noon on Friday? So, I don't know. We're going to find out. So, Joan McNeil is Chair of Governance, and she got some advice from prior Chair of the Board of Governors, Hannah Gage, that maybe the processes we have in place to generally search for presidents is unnecessarily cumbersome, complicated, and so we're working on that. That's in process, and then we've got to get together and articulate the characteristics and traits of a new president. So we're not in a hurry because it's got to be the right decision, because we're 5 for 5 as a system and we want to be 6 for 6. Does that make sense to you? And let me answer you about Elizabeth City State. I support Elizabeth City State University. It's hard. I mean, its enrollment is going off the cliff, right? If effort and commitment can turn it around, we've got that. Okay?
Mr. Rouse, you said you had these conversations over the last several days. Was there an event that precipitated those conversations? Was there some reason that those conversations started, say, beginning of this week, for example?
I mean, they were, Mr. Fennebresque came to see me and we started talking about it. I mean, I think the board decided it was in a place where it wanted to begin the transition. And
Had the board met in the last week or two?
No.
Well, then I should address the question to you. I suppose, was there a precipitating event?
No. No. We are very pleased with Tom Ross's efforts on behalf of the University of North Carolina system, and I don't know what the current count is, but he's brought in about 9 new chancellors, and we think he's found us some great ones, and we're excited about them. And I guess in the normal course, I guess 9's a lot in 4 years, isn't it?
it is a lot. We got 3 more going right now.
So we're gonna.
The fundamental question may be, where does the board want to go? You know, we're talking about change, and I would think before you can go through a procedure determining the new chancellor, you have to decide where you want to go. So, and being chairman and surely in contact with the majority of the board, and can you give us some insight on where the board would like to go going forward?
No, but just I'd like to clarify a couple things. There was no termination. and he's not a chancellor, he's the president. And there was no precipitating event at all. He's been wonderful and a very close friend to me and to most of us.
Mr. Fennebresque, a minute ago, Mr. Fennebresque, a minute ago, you spoke definitively when I mentioned politics and the role it may have played or not played. You said that it did not play a role. I believe earlier you might have said that you were one of 32 and it had no relationship to your considerations. Could you clarify that? Could you? What role, if any, did politics play a role in this decision?
I don't understand what's the confusing part.
I think you're more recently talking about generally, and I think initially you were speaking about yourself individually.
That's just me not saying things right. I think I was trying to tell you, I don't know. I can't tell you what 31 other people did. They don't talk about it with me, and it was to the best of my knowledge. I can tell you for sure about me, and to the best of my knowledge, it's also so about the other 31. Is that? I mean,
yeah.
All you pointed out is I can't speak very well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
This has been a ball.